Hello, welcome to the Monday AM session for June 1st, 2026. 10 minutes ahead of the 10 a.m. Starting point. And let's watch what do we have and what has transposed since London Open. So we left pretty smooth and nice relative equal highs since London Open in place. Then price meandered, consolidated kind of lower, forming a very smooth and large pool of buy-side liquidity above those highs, and eventually it purged quickly or dropped quickly below the sell-side liquidity here, and basically all together down into the low of the daily bullish suspension block. Ever since that low of that daily suspension block, price reacted aggressively higher, moved above it again, and now it's kind of like meandering around the new week opening up high and the daily suspension block high, which is basically the same price, while keeping or having this very smooth relative equal highs buy-side liquidity that's potentially like a prime candidate for a run on liquidity, particularly. So, taking the fact that at 10 a.m. we have some high impact news that will be hitting, coupling that with the idea that we have those very smooth relative equal highs, I would say that this initially seems like a very solid or good potential initial draw on liquidity for that AM session silver bullet. At least that's what I'm thinking initially right off the gate. And yeah, I think I will be looking for some ideas that could allow for a run up into it. Other than that, we opened with a discount opening range gap. Discount opening range gap that was overlapped very quickly already. Price went above it, and that's where we are at now. In terms of the first presented fair value gap after 9:30, there is really nothing to choose from based on this price action here. So in that regard, I would still kind of like wait for one to form either before 10 a.m. or after the 10 a.m. Something to that regard would be interesting. Now taking a sneaky peek into the ES quickly, because I have still a little bit of time left while doing my preparation in here. So that's the daily bullish suspension block. Accordingly to the Nasdaq one, and yeah, we are pretty high into the range. We are at, dealing with all-time highs and posting these little dodgy type of candles, which are pretty suspect, I would say. But nonetheless, in terms of the ES, right away we can notice that there is a measure of SMT divergence on the highs between Nasdaq and ES. Nasdaq leaving very smooth relative equal highs, while ES was poking the highs all together here during the London, but also here during the pre-market. So there is a measure of SMT divergence right there. 3 a.m. high on ES versus 7:30 a.m. high. These are higher highs. On Nasdaq, it's a high and a lower high, as far as I recall. So that is something that also was setting up this distribution here, this drop. And that information, or this information itself, is interesting, because as I said on Nasdaq, I was liking the buy side liquidity that's very smooth to attack that buy side liquidity. And I feel like that's still potentially the way to go. But this, or having this information here with that displacement on ES, that might be a little bit concerning for higher prices altogether. Potentially, I mean, nothing is necessarily set in the stone right now, but this SIBI on ES will be key PDRA to watch. Because if price will be having issues to go through that, it will be indicative of further weakness, and then like this inefficiency here and these lows are very, very suspect, I suppose. What happened so far? So yeah, I mean, on the downside, still a little bit of smooth sell side liquidity here that could have been attacked, and I like this portion of inefficiency here. Maybe like this. All right, something like this could act as a solid draw liquidity on the downside on ES, which makes quite a bit of sense in here, I would say. So yeah, interesting, nonetheless interesting. In terms of the opening range gap, it was a discount opening range gap filled already, but no real continuation above it. The sell side here was initially poked. There is still this low that's very prominent. That holds majority of sell side liquidity that's remaining. All right, so we poked this very shallowly, so that's still in a realm of possibility to get it. There are some very, very nice relative equal highs being placed right here, so this is somewhat interesting, coupled with this inefficiency. On the upside, that might be a draw for ES on the upside. Well, I mean, the structure that is in play on ES makes me, or made me, to question my bullishness on Nasdaq in here, or maybe not the bullishness, but it questions whether these relative equal highs are being actually gonna be a factor for this session, and not, for example, the sell side liquidity here and maybe this inefficiency right there. All right, so that's kind of sus a little bit, but let's see. 10 a.m. will hit. The buy side on Nasdaq is definitely way too smooth. It's way too smooth. So we'll see what it will offer after all. All right. So now we're starting basically. Now we're starting the party. It's after 10 a.m. The buy side. I specifically like this and this high here, but all of these that are built up around it are very, very, very clean too. So might be interesting overall. Yeah, so you have this old low right there. That might be a near-term factor for the price to do something. And let's see. So bearish for value gap here that already was traded into and reacted nicely. It's reasonable to expect to take out this low, I suppose. In terms of the first presented fair value gap, this looks pretty good, I would say. At 954. And we are trading or dealing off of a daily discount array, which is this suspension block low. We trade to it, nobody's necessarily close below it, so that's a reasonable signature in here. Trade up into this fair value gap again, and now I want to see whether we can bulk a run below this low in here. I would say that would be pretty reasonable expectation at this moment to see that being taken out. And then maybe if we would start reclaiming those, inversing those fair value gaps, bearish fair value gaps, that could maybe offer some potential for a run higher towards the buy liquidity. Maybe not necessarily getting up there, but if it could offer some measure of movement, that would be still solid, because the range from, for example, this fair value gap to the high, to the highs, is around 160 handles, which is a very, very respectable amount of range. Overall, right? So yeah, I'm watching this closely right now, whether we can take out this low and whether we can offer anything after that could send us towards the buy side liquidity here. With already liking this fair value gap to act as a potential inversion. And let's see if that would be the case. Hypothetically, if that would be the case, my stop loss preferably would need to be around here. So I would need to use like 3, too much my risk limits, something like this. And then I'll be aiming for before the buy side here even. So that's somewhat of an idea that maybe could have transposed if we could take out this low out, preferably, and then go on a closing basis above this fair value gap here, to see it then act as a potential bullish inversion fair value gap and send it higher. Will that be the case? Let's see now. Yeah, we went very, very close to the low, not quite taken it out. All right, so we are trading into this provide gap in here. This is an efficiency, so I'm watching whether we can close above it. Preferably, I would like to see this low being made a lower low, but it feels like it did enough of work in here already with this run lower. Let's see if we still trade from it, we make a lower low, we will be taking relatively low. So if we can get a rejection after that above this, then this should have been an easy inversion for value gap that could or should offer at least some measure of run higher, if not actually reaching for the buy side there. So I mean, I guess we'll see what we'll get. But again, I'm requiring to see a closure above this bearish for value gap that could then offer upside potential. Taking those relatively lows first before inversing this would be even like best case scenario in my mind. But sometimes they might not want to do that. So let's see. Another attempt to close above it in here. All right, so we got the close above it, so I'm hitting the buy limit in here, assuming that this should act as a bullish inversion for value gap, and trusting that it could potentially deliver directionally in the direction of those relative highs here. So yeah, first of all, let's see whether I will get a fill or not, and yeah, then we'll see what it will actually offer. Yeah, I mean, already running quite aggressively, stretching higher in here like this. Well, now we trade to the first presented for value gap in here, which also could be like the potential second stage. If this will not offer me an entry and return to it here, then if we could go above this area, that could also act as a higher inversion for value gap that potentially I could use then. We'll see still until this is not closed above. I'm not necessarily worrying about it too much and sticking to this little inversion here for a potential return. Right, so it came back for it and tapped me in. So now this inversion for value gap in here should offer a nice reaction higher. Initially, I like this. I like how it's running away from it aggressively and leaving a long wick like this. That's actually very, very good if that could stay like this. And preferably we don't spend much time inside of this inversion, right? Preferably we don't see even price reach into the lower half of it, which I can annotate here, the middle line right there. So preferably nobody should close below it. I have some measure of buffer in terms of the potential mistake in here. So if it goes there and stops me out, then it's definitely going for those lows and clearing me out. But at this moment, I assume that these lows are a potential trap, and it could be seeking higher. We'll see. We'll see how it will actually deliver. But that's generally, or that's kind of like the logic that I'm utilizing for it. Definitely, if it stops me out, then I'm just wrong, and I will take that. So another touch and return into this inversion. So now quick reaction off of it is very, very welcome, I would say. So far so good. We tapped into it and we are quickly rejecting higher. That's a solid response out of it. We did it once here, second time here. So in my opinion, we should be turning around here rather smoothly if it's actually solid in here. Well, I like the fact that we tapped into it here 2 times, but both times the bodies were staying well above it and actually inside of this inefficiency here. I really like to see that. So if we could send price higher aggressively here, that's actually a very, very welcome signature to be seen. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th candle, 5th minute after my entry here. So if we are really, really solid and on side with this, it should be about to reap aggressively higher. There is lots of buy side here. There is really nothing. I mean, there is this very small little fair value gap there, coupled with this breaker, or inside of this breaker there. That's basically where my limit is. So I would assume that that's like a reasonable expectation, even if the buy side wouldn't be taken out. That this could be potentially tackled. So yeah, I mean, so far since the entry, we are basically almost all the time potentially above the water, so that's always good to see. We don't want to see, I mean, we don't like entering and being in a drawdown all the time. So the fact that it offered this entry and it holds above it fairly well, is giving a little bit of hope or trust that that's still possibly good. And as I said, as long as price is staying above this inversion for value gap here, I'm really not worried too much about it. If we will dive deeper below it, then there is this long wick in here, right? So that would be like the last line of defense for this particular trade idea. But again, this is the third time we traded into this inversion for value gap, perfect consecutive encroachment, and now we see nice displacement away. So that's what I want to see, right? That's the signature that I really like to see. So now preferably we should nail and close above the first presented fair value gap there. We didn't done it on the first attempt, so I'm still giving it a chance to do so in the next candle or during the next candle. But nonetheless, at this moment or after this displacement here, I really don't think there is any reason for price to come back to this inversion for value gap at this moment. It shouldn't really do it, right? It took this short-term high here, so it shifted bullishly again after a nice displacement. The bodies are hanging above this inversion, so they couldn't even book down there. So all of that is pretty suggesting like it's bullish in a sense. So yeah, we'll see what we get, but preferably this upper fair value gap, we would like to see it get inversed, and that's what I'm looking for currently. Right, this is not what I wanted to see. This is not what I wanted to see, and this is actually bringing some issues and some struggle here. So yeah, I mean, very important that we don't even touch into this inversion fair value gap again. If we trade back to it, I would say the probabilities will fall or will be being stacked against me at that point. So that's kind of like the line in the sand. So yeah, I'm still allowing the price to perform. I'm offering it some room to go still, right? but I definitely don't want to see it return back to this inversion fair value gap at all, preferably. So second attempt, tapping into this first presentation or bearish fair value gap at the low of the new week opening up. So if we could close above it, that's ideal. Anything else is gonna be problematic in the long run. So yeah, I mean, we already spent quite a bit of time in here messing both sides up and down, very balanced, very balanced. So I'm really hoping for a release and run towards this high in here, and the relative equal high is up there. Best case scenario, this is like the lower hanging fruit type of objective on the upside. So if these relative equal highs are actually true as a draw, then this area in here should be very reasonable, low hanging type of fruit objective. All right, I like how we close above this first presentation, bearish fair value gap, and now I want to see it act as support, or don't even touch to it. That's even better. So quickly run for the new week opening up high, and there is this little inefficiency up there coupled with the breaker. So I hope it's enough of a range that I can see that being booked on my or in my favor here, but we'll see. So at this moment, price booked pretty much 75% of my potential target for the trade. So therefore, the stop loss would go to break even at this moment. So I really wouldn't like to see it go to my entry price from where it is right now. But yeah, let's see whether this inversion fair value gap here will offer any support to it, and how it will actually deliver here. Right, so the limit order is definitely in the striking distance to where the price is currently, and it could get tapped at any moment at this time. Basically 95% of the range from the entry to the target was covered, and I wouldn't like to see price come back to the entry price at any moment. yeah, I mean, I feel like the risk management that I want to add to this challenge anyway is the fact that after reaching 75% of my target, I want to be moving my stop loss to break even actually, and I believe we can start incorporating this since week 4 as like the more advanced type of risk management for this challenge. Also, just in case, to don't suffer unnecessary loss at this moment, because yeah, I mean, I still believe that we could or should see this limit being tapped, but just in case I will miss it by few handles, like 4 handles, 3 and a sum, and it will turn all the way around against me, then I mean, I don't want to just give away my, I mean, I just don't want to take a loss at that moment. A break even would be like still fair enough, I guess, in that case. So yeah. So this is how I would actually like to manage a position like this, according to more advanced type of position management during a trade, not just leaving the stop as it is. That's what I was doing first 3 weeks. That's a little bit like more basic. I mean, way more basic, but it also doesn't like make you tinker with the stop loss a lot. But after reaching like 95%, 75 to 90% of the actual profit target, if price turns around, I mean, if price reverses the direction there and goes to my entry again, then that's a very, very, very likely losing trade there. So I just don't want to suffer that after like being very close to the target. So yeah, the fact that we traded above this inversion here, and now price could not maintain it inside of it or above it, this is a little bit suspect. That could be a moho and a little bit of errant price action that could still deliver and make a higher high here. So this is still in play, but just in case it would not, this would be like the first, the early bird singing that something bad might be coming, right? So yeah, nonetheless, this trade is already in a very great spot. I cannot lose on it, so that's awesome, and we are still in the striking distance to the target. But if for some reason it would fail, which it might, I'm not saying it will 100% deliver, it might fail, then at least I will not take a full loss on it. So that's kind of like the situation that I'm in right now. All right, so we went above that inversion profile gap again, but again we couldn't maintain any closing above it, which is actually becoming problematic in here. So me getting stopped out in here, the chances are rising, definitely. I would say there is a fair chance for me getting stopped out in here on the break even, but uh, yeah, I would be content with that if that's the case. I would be very, very content with that if that's the case. All right, let's see. I like the rejection after we've taken a short-term low, and we are already above that inversion. So this makes the TP very alive again. So that's a very nice close. And that short-term high, short-term buy sell liquidity right here would be reasonable expectation at this moment. Obviously, if it fails, it fails, but I would say that's a very reasonable expectation considering where the price is. But yeah, it became a little bit unruly in here. But we had a short-term low being formed there. It was raided, stops were taken, and quick rejection of that displacement. While we have this short-term high very, very easy and close to the price, that holds a lot of buy sell liquidity for sure, considering all of that buy set here too. So it should be all right at this moment. All right. All right, so it filled me, and that was basically it for the session. 958 inversion for value gap to 1033 breaker for value gap here as somewhat of a low-hanging fruit objective. So I would be still interested to see whether price will reach up into this buy set here. In my opinion, that's still a very, very reasonable idea, taking into consideration how clean it is. But admittedly, we'll see how it goes. All right, good catch in here. Yeah, that's actually a good catch in terms of catching up with my drawdown. Adding another 500 to the balance will give me a little bit more breathing room again. So that's very nice, and we'll see how we'll do for the rest of this week. So adding 1W to the stats. 5 wins, 8 losses so far since the beginning of this whole endeavor. I got allergy in my eyes. Ah, that sucks, bro. That sucks, bro. I hope it will be short one though. But allergy sucks. All right. So nonetheless, pretty wild price action so far already on Monday. We'll see how it goes, or how it will go, but there are some. Yeah, I mean, ES is now looking way weaker. Nasdaq played a little bit of catch up here, but ES is looking way weaker. We'll see. I don't want to go too fast forward on this one because a lot could still happen. It's still early into the week. It's Monday, and it's not even done yet. So we'll see how price will actually trade for the remainder of the day. But yeah, I mean, at some point, I think like the sell set here on Nasdaq will be likely revisited. The question would be whether this is already the high of the week, and there are some maybe ideas that could be saying that that's the case, and the SMT on the highs would be one of them. But yeah, we'll see what we get. All right, nonetheless, guys, thanks for watching. Kudos to you for enduring this session with me, and I'll be ending this one a little bit sooner as I need to go to the bathroom. If anyone wondered or wanted to know, whatever. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. London open session.